that 4 in 10 households in the country are moderate or severely food insecure. In the wake of World Food Celebrations, there are more questions about what needs to be done to improve the state of food security in the country. And to help us appreciate this, we have Jude Sebliba, who is the acting head of programs at Pelam, Uganda. Good afternoon to you, Jude, and thank you for joining us on NTV.
Good afternoon, Mildred. Good afternoon, listeners.
So, do you agree with the findings from the census report, or you being somebody who is at on the ground, is the situation worse than what we are seeing?
I think, Mildred, what is important is that not a single person should go without food or should remain food insecure. So without even going to the correctness of the statistics, I can say that looking at the climate change, lack of access to adequate seed, lack of access to adequate inputs, built environment increasing even in gazetted areas for not construction, non-functionality of the distributive mechanism, say the markets of the food insecurity problem is destined to increase, unfortunately, unless some of us are listened to.
Okay. And so what is the kind of food that most of the households are having? And like you have highlighted all that, what do you think then needs to be done to actually control, mitigate this?
I think we have all the solutions around us. We need to go back to the basics. In one word, the most viable answer to this is agroecology. We need to promote a system that allows an interaction of humans, animals, and the environment in an optimal way without disregarding the human rights of the people. People should go back, should be helped by the government programs, by the private sector, by themselves, in NGOs, etc., to go back to start producing the locally adaptable food plants that they were producing, because we did have these problems when people were producing the foods that were adapted to the conditions they lived in.
Which ones were those?
Every region, unfortunately, I cannot mention them because every region has its own. In the West, you have your millet. In the East, you have sorghum, you have millet. In the Central, you have matoke. But what is lacking is that they no longer have access to adequate seed. They no longer have access to adequate inputs amidst climate change. And this is causing them not to produce enough. What we are saying as Pelam Uganda is from 23rd to 26th the next week, we have organized an expo to go through all these at Hotel Africana. I can encourage everyone to come and see for himself from the production of the seed, the growing of the seed, the growing of the food, the handling of the food, and ultimately the consumption of the food to avoid some of these food insecurity problems.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Jude. What would be your closing remarks of this conversation?
My closing remarks is, unless we go back to the basics, to a food system that values the traditions of Africans, of Ugandans, we are destined to suffer these food insecurity problems, unfortunately. Yet, it is very easy to go back. It is harder not to go back.
Okay.